Hi everyone. So we're going to go over how to do, your basic statistics like descriptive statistics and frequencies using SPSS. And for those of you who are required to write the outcomes in APA format, especially college students and others, I'm going to go over how you would report those findings using APA format. So just to go over a little bit some of the basic rules for APA format and reporting numbers and statistics. The basic style of what it should look like it can be seen here. So when you are writing a statistic, it should be italicized. And for example, if I'm using a T statistics, you would write the T italicized and then write the degrees of freedom, what the value is, then the P value, and then followed by the effect size. Also notice that the P and effect size statistic are also italicized. So when you are reporting numbers, sometimes it's necessary to know, how many decimal points you should round to, or how you should write them. So for numbers greater than 100, you should report to the nearest whole number. So here's an example of reporting the mean. If you have, over 100 people, you just write 6,254. For numbers between 10 and 100, use 1 decimal point. For numbers that are 0.1 through 10, use 2 decimal points. And then for numbers 0.001 through 0.1, 3 decimal points. And those that are less than 0.001, you should use as many digits that you need to reach a non-zero number. Okay, so also don't report any decimal places if you're reporting something that can only be a whole number. So if you have, if you're reporting maybe the ethnic groups in your study, you can only have a specific number of people that maybe are African American, right? You're not going to have 4.5 African American people, right? And then report the exact p-value also. Even if you are reporting non-significant results, you should write the exact p-value. And round the p-value unless SPSS gives you a p-value of 0.000, then just write it as p less than 0.001. Also, two-tailed p-values are assumed when you're reporting SPSS results. If you're reporting a one-tailed t-test, then you should explicitly say that you're reporting for a one-tailed t-test. Also, omit the leading zero from p-values, and for correlation coefficients, partial eta squared, which is for ANOVA, and other names that cannot be greater than 1. So here's the example. You shouldn't report a p-value, or you should report a p-value just 0.043, not 0.043. Okay, so another important thing to know is when you're using abbreviations, like for your mean, standard deviation, the number of people in the study, you should italicize those letters, right? They should all be italicized. If you're using Greek letters like eta squared, those should not be italicized. If you cannot get if you don't have Greek letters that you can use in your word processing program, then just you can write out the word. Abbreviations should only be used inside of parentheses, otherwise spell out the names. And there should be a space before and after your equal signs. Okay, so now on to performing descriptive and frequency tests using SPSS. So we have this data set here, and we're going to look at how you would report, general demographic data. you should note that when you're reporting frequencies, you should stay away from scale level data. In SPSS, you can tell what scale level data is with these little rulers. And also scale level data in SPSS are continuous variables or ratio or integer type data, like age, Fahrenheit, money values. That would be scale level data or interval ratio values. And then also nominal variables usually have this little, or they have these little bubbles next to it, as well as ordinal data. Nominal is like categorical data. They're just categories of data like ethnicity or gender. Whereas ordinal, although it is categorical, it kind of has sort of an order to it. Like age groups progress from younger to older, right? So there's kind of an order to it, right? If you have age in groups, that is. So if you're reporting age, a person's age, it can be scale if it's just they're reporting their exact age. But if you place those ages into age groups, now it would become ordinal. And there's two different kinds of tests you would do for that. So, for example, I would not want to perform a frequency on age that is scale level data because I would have too many numbers. So, for example, let's take a look at what that would look like. So, if I did a frequency on age, and we're going to compare it to what it would look like if I put age groups, we'll see. Let's get the mean. And the minimum and the maximum and the standard deviation. Maybe we'll get the skewness and kurtosis. That's always good. And then hit continue. Okay. Maybe a chart might be kind of cool, right? Let's see. Maybe a bar chart. And hit OK. And that's how you would perform a frequency, by the way. So you wouldn't want to perform a frequency, like I was saying, on scale level data, because as you can see, you end up with all kinds of these numbers, right? That's doesn't really tell you a whole lot, right? But if I put my age in groups, now I've narrowed it down, right? I have those that are under 20, from 20 to 21, and so on. That's much more manageable. And even the charts, they're kind of messy looking for running a frequency on age. And especially if you have a more diverse group or age group in your sample, people who are much older and much younger than this sample, for example, this would be much larger. But age groups, much more manageable, right? Okay. To perform descriptives are good to obtain a mean, and they're good for scale level data. So I would put the age on the scale level in here, and for options, in this case, getting a mean, standard deviation, minimum, and maximum. We can also report the skewness and kurtosis, continue, and then click OK. And now, here it just reports the number of people here, what's the oldest and youngest people in this study. You're going to get rates for skewness and kurtosis, and then the standard deviation, and your mean, of course. So let's see here. For reporting, if I'm just going to report age, a simple, straightforward, you can just report the average age of participants was 23.3 years, and the standard deviation was 6.06. And I can find that here, 23.34. We rounded it. And then the standard deviation was 6.06. So we rounded it to the tenths right there. Now let's get more creative. If you want, you can also report, the age range. And we had 18 to 52-year-olds, and then we can give their mean and standard deviation. And we added the skewness and kurtosis for this sample as well. So the more descriptive you can be, the better. And then you can go even further and maybe split your file to get the means and standard deviations for men and women. And the way you would do that would be you go to Data, all the way down here, Split File, find Gender. You want to organize the output by groups, put the gender in there, and hit OK. All right, let's see here. And if I go to where the data is, always be aware when you have split a file, because all the statistics I now run from here, no matter what it is, it's going to split it by gender. And SPSS tells you here in the corner that right now my data set is split by gender. So now if I run the age with that on, and I want to get the descriptives for age, just run it again, and now you can see that it is comparing males and females. So there are 50 males and 88 females, and it gives the means and standard deviations and all that other information for them. So you can see here 50 men, 88 women, and it gives all the standard deviation and mean. And notice that all of these abbreviations are italicized and they're within parentheses. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.